Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Shannon, and today I'm going to be tier ranking all of the books I have read this year. Now, I will not be giving descriptions of these books for obvious reasons. I read 110 books this year. I reread a couple of them, but let's just get started. So, my tiers are I Haven't Shut Up About It, Top Contenders of the Year, I Enjoyed It, I Can Take It or Leave It, I Forgot I Read It, and I Wish I Hadn't Picked It Up. I have also put all of these in order, so it's going to be starting from the beginning of January to now. So let's just get started. I enjoyed Brutal Prince. This was my first mafia romance. I Can Take or Leave A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. I really enjoyed Stolen Air. Haunting Adeline is... I enjoyed it, but Hunting Adeline is I Can Take It or Read It. I really enjoyed Shatter Me. I loved Destroy Me. I enjoyed Unravel Me. I wish I hadn't picked up Fracture Me. I just started hating him after this book. But Ignite Me is I Haven't Shut Up About It. The Duke and I is I enjoyed it. The Viscount and Me is I enjoyed it. Things We Never Got Over is a top contender of the year. Now, the first time I read Daisy Jones and the Six, I wish I hadn't picked it up, but after I watched the show and reread it, it became a top contender of the year. Better Than the Movies, I wish I hadn't picked it up. I'm so sorry, I know people love that book. By a Thread is I enjoyed it. Bad Habit, I forgot I read it. The Flat Share is I Can Take It or Leave It. Icebreaker is a top contender of the year. It Happened One Summer is a top contender. Hook, Line, and Sinker is a top contender. I actually liked Hook, Line, and Sinker more than It Happened One Summer. Bad Intentions, I Can Take It or Leave It. It was basically just smut, and it took me like 2 weeks to read it. Secretly Yours, I wish I hadn't picked it up. That protagonist was insufferable. The Last Lecture was the only nonfiction book I read this year, but I enjoyed it. Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas, I did enjoy this, although I'm gonna put Birthday Girl in I Can Take It or Leave It, because the whole cheating thing rubbed me the wrong way. The Drowned Woods is a top contender. Magnolia Parks is a top contender. In a Jam is... I enjoyed it. Serpent and the Wings of the Night is a top contender. Say You Swear, this is the only book that I have legitimately stayed up through the night to read. I started reading it at 9 p.m. and I didn't finish reading the book until 9 a.m. I really enjoyed it. Daisy Hates is a top contender. Magnolia Parks A Long Way Home is a top contender. And if you didn't already realize this, Daisy Hates The Great Undoing is something I have legitimately not shut up about. Watch any video on my channel and you'll know that. Archer's Voice, I haven't shut up about it. I love that book. Hooked is... I haven't shut up about it. I really enjoy that book. Scarred, I enjoyed it. Wretched, I did enjoy it. Defy Me is I Can Take It or Leave It. Shadow Me is I forgot I read it. I really don't remember anything about it. And Restore Me is I enjoyed it. The Inheritance Games, I really enjoyed this. I just haven't read the rest of the series yet. The Summer of Broken Rules, I enjoyed it. Flawless is without a doubt a top contender. Heartless is a top contender. Powerless is just an I enjoyed it. I know people think that that's the best book in the series. I heavily disagree. Travis, I really enjoyed this. Things We Hide from the Light, I enjoyed it, but it definitely was no Things We Never Got Over. Funny You Should Ask is a top contender. Once More with Feeling, I can take it or leave it. It's Not Summer Without You is I enjoyed it. We'll Always Have Summer is I enjoyed it. Twisted Love is a top contender. I loved this book. Twisted Games, I can take it or leave it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It felt like I was watching Princess Diaries 2. When in Rome is a top contender. Reckless by Elsie Silver is a top contender. Done and Dusted is a top contender. Twisted Hate, I know this book gets a lot of hate, but I loved it. It was my favorite in the series. Love in Other Words is I enjoyed it, but I never, you don't need the cheating trope. Why even put it in? Okay, I'm gonna do rapid fire of Harry Potter. That being said, I did rate all of the Harry Potter series 5 stars for nostalgia reasons. I have not a single thing bad to say about any of the books, but I do have favorites. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Top contender. Top contender. I haven't shut up about it. I haven't shut up about it. Now, The Nanny. I wish I hadn't picked it up. The plot was interesting, but the way that the resolution came about really, really rubbed me the wrong way. And I can't say more without spoiling it, but it really bothered me who initiated the conclusion and the resolution. Twisted, I enjoyed this. Crossed, I enjoyed it, but it felt very similar to Twisted, and because I read them back to back, I definitely enjoyed it less than I would have had I spaced it out a little bit. Red, White, and Royal Blue is a top contender. Once Upon a Broken Heart is a top contender. However, The Ballad of Never After is something I haven't shut up about. Midnight Sun, this was a reread from last year, and I really enjoyed it. I liked it just as much as the first time I read it. New Moon, I enjoyed it. Eclipse, I would say this is a top contender. I really like this book. It was definitely my favorite in the series, and I do have a weekly reading vlog up on my channel where I've read that series if you want to see all of my thoughts, but I really liked that book. Breaking Dawn is I enjoyed it. All Roads Lead Here is a top contender. The Confidence of Wildflowers, boy do I wish I hadn't picked this up. I DNF'd this book because I've already made it clear that I don't like the cheating trope, but it pushed it to a limit where I legitimately had to stop reading because it bothered me so much. Anyhow, Twisted Lies is a top contender. I almost like this as much as I enjoyed Twisted Hate, but not quite. Darling Venom, I can take it or leave it. That book's it was hard to read it sometimes. Sometimes because of cringiness, and then just sometimes because it was making me legitimately sob. An Offer from a Gentleman, I loved this book. I would say it is a top contender for me. A Court of Wings and Ruin, y'all already know how I feel about this book. I reread it this year to fully annotate it properly, and I loved it even more. I picked up so much stuff that I didn't realize I had not picked up before, but it was really nice to gain more insight into the book. Court of Frost and Starlight, I'm gonna put this in top contender. I know so many people write this book off as like a Christmas episode, but I feel like you got so much more of the characters' personalities in this book because there was no major conflict. So they just got to be, and I gained a lot more insight into their personalities because of it, and I really enjoyed it. Wildfire. This is a top contender. I loved this book. Maybe even more than Icebreaker. I just love Russ. A Dowry of Blood. I want to put this in top contender, but it was kind of hard to read at some points. It was very cathartic, I feel like, if you've ever been in a toxic relationship. But I'm gonna put it in enjoyed it. And Encore Roses, this was a 30-page novella that was so short. It should have been an epilogue. I can take it or leave it. It was fine. I don't know. It was not important to the plot. Maybe Meant to Be. I did enjoy this, but the main characters. This book follows two best friends and their respective love interests, and the two best friends, they were insufferable at parts of this book because of the way they behaved, and they just didn't even realize what they were doing was wrong, or they just didn't care. It really bothered me. Enough Rope. This was a poetry book, and I did enjoy it. My sister actually got me interested in that. Reveal Me. I really enjoyed this. I love Kenji. Imagine Me. I would say it was a top contender. No, I'm gonna put it in enjoyed it because the ending was wildly incomplete to me. I would have liked so much more information than what was on the last page of that book, but it's not up to me. Believe Me is... I'm gonna put it in top contender because it was perfect. I rated this 5 stars, and I would put it in I Haven't Shut Up About It, but it's not the book. I don't know. I wildly enjoyed this book. I honestly think that novella was perfect. I think that's the only novella I've ever rated 5 stars, but it's definitely worth it. Indigo Ridge. I'm gonna put it in top contender because I really enjoyed that book. Juniper Hill. I love Knox, but I enjoyed the book. Garnet Flats. I loved this. I'm gonna put it in top contender. It was definitely my favorite book in the series because he's obsessed with her, and I love romance books with that subtrope. Jasper Vale. I enjoyed this, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. There's not much more to say. Crimson River. I can take it or leave that book. That was... They were focusing on romance when I felt like there were other much more important things they should have been focusing on. And I'm actually reading the last book of the Eden series right now. Divine Rivals. I'm gonna put this in top contender. I loved this book. I love Roman so much. I love Iris. I'm wildly excited for Ruthless Vows to come out in like, I think it's a week from tomorrow when I'm filming this, that Ruthless Vows will be out, and I'm so excited. Hopeless by Elsie Silver. I really enjoyed this. I'm going to put it in a top contender slot because that series is one of my favorites of all time, and it definitely belongs to be there. A Curse for True Love. Absolutely a top contender. I loved that book so much. I think it ended the series perfectly. Binding 13. I recently read this for the first time at the end of October, and it has since become my entire personality. I think I have mentioned it in like 5 videos now, but I love this book. It is maybe a hair. Like, if this is Daisy Hates the Great Undoing on my scale, this is Binding 13. It's so close to being my favorite book of the year, but Daisy Hates the Great Undoing tops it just a little bit. Keeping 13, I'm going to put it in I Haven't Shut Up About It as well, because when I first read that, and I have reread it since reading it in October, but when I first read it, I rated it like a 4.99 basically, because it was a little long in the beginning, but upon rereading it though, it is perfect to me. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think I'm gonna have to put it in Enjoyed It, because while I did love the book and I enjoyed it so much, the ending, like the last 15 pages, you could have made it twice as long. Like those 15 pages you could have turned into 30 pages and I would have enjoyed it so much more. It felt like I was just reading what was happening. There was no further analysis. It was so fast-paced and I did not appreciate that. But that's just me. The Cruel Prince. I really enjoyed this book. The only reason I'm not going to put it in top contender is because I think I've said it about this book before, but it jerked around a lot. Like, there were a lot of plot twists and betrayals and just so many things happening that it felt like I had whiplash by the end of the book, but I did really enjoy it. Long Shot. Oh, I'm really on the fence about this because I think Iris and August are probably one of my favorite book couples ever, but it took a while in the book for them to actually get together, and what's going on that's keeping them from being together is really hard to read about. So I'm just gonna put it in Enjoyed It, but know that I haven't shut up about Iris and August themselves as characters. The Hunger Games. I'm going to put it in I Enjoyed It because I did, but no, I'm gonna put it in top contender. I loved this book. I loved this series. I literally hadn't read it for a decade, and it was so much fun to go back and reread it now that I'm older. Anyhow, Catching Fire. I'm going to put Catching Fire in I Haven't Shut Up About It because it may just be because it's fresh in my mind. I read it maybe a couple weeks ago, but I literally loved Catching Fire so much, and I think, oh my gosh, it's definitely my favorite book in the series. I love Peeta so much. Anywho, Mockingjay. I'm going to put that in top contenders as well. I really enjoyed, I think it was the last part of this book, because every Hunger Games book comes in 3 parts. Like, there are 3 parts to it, and I don't want to spoil the plot, but once a certain character returns, that's when it gets so good, and I just loved this book and this series. Okay, now I accidentally put A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime twice, so just ignore that picture. But the last book I have read this year so far, there's only 2 more weeks left in the year, But the last book I have read was The Color Purple, and I'm really on the fence because I didn't enjoy it as much just because it's literary fiction, but the actual story I did enjoy. Like, it wasn't interesting or entertaining, but the actual story was really compelling and moving, and I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it in top contenders. Anywho, this is the full tier ranking of this year. If you have any questions about any of these books, please make sure to leave your comments in the descriptions and I will answer literally all of them. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All of my social media is linked down below for you guys. Make sure you turn on the notification bell so you guys can get notified right when I post a new video. I hope you all are having an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!